Good evening, team. Welcome back to FPL Double Pivot. It's time for FPL Game Week 1 to 7 Ultimate Review Part 2. And today, I've got FPL Vincino Craig opposite me to help me out with this one. Craig, thanks very much for coming on. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to this. I've not done anything like this on my channel yet. So not done a whole sort of first block of the season review. So hopefully it's given me a reason to do some research myself in prep for this. So obviously good to hear your thoughts as well. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll get some good FPL decisions moving forward from this chat.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we do now and again. We do have some good advice. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of sprinkle advice. Part 2 we had Mode on last night. He stole the show. He stole the show. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. That's fine by me. No, it was really good.
Right with him.
Well, that's it, mate. That's it. We covered kind of the title challengers last night. We're going to cover kind of the European chasers, the middle of the field, the middle of the pack. And then maybe a little relegation team in there as well, just to sprinkle it. Like you're saying, you not caught that video from last night. Actually, it's just out with Mode. Basically, just go and watch Mode. Just go and watch Andy. Is what I'm saying, Craig. Do you know what I mean? It was really good. It was an hour and a half, and it just flew. And there was some bold predictions in there as well, mate. Right, we're just going to jump straight into it, mate. And the way we're doing this video is we've got a smorgasbord of parts of the team that we're going to discuss. Now, listen, you're the SME on this team, Aston Villa. What would you like to talk about first? And then we'll go into what I've put on the screen here. What do you think's worked for you, not worked for you, as we all know? What's gone wrong a little bit to start the season for Villa?
2 or 3 things really, and actually some green shoots of improvement actually from the Burnley game. So I think there's positivity on the horizon for us. But I think at the start of the year, obviously we had the misfortune of not getting the Champions League when we lost to Man United last game of last season. Not saying Villa expected to get there again, but I think a lot of their pre-season plans hinged on us qualifying, i.e. what players we might be looking to buy, all those sorts of things, and how financially we would set up for this year. When we didn't get there, obviously quite a big loss of money for that. We've been struggling with financial fair play rules, PSR and things like that for a while. I think it cost us. I think there was anxiety in the squad. I think literally all the players felt like they could be sold. Jacob Ramsey eventually did go to Newcastle, but I think all of our players were basically on the market in their own way. Emi Martinez probably took it too far. I think he was already expecting to go to Manchester United, I think, and that never materialised. But as a player, like I've not been a professional footballer, but as a player, if you're not quite sure where your future lies going into the new season, I think it's really hard to be committed to the project. It's really hard to properly get involved in the new season, because I think there must have been 7 or 8 of our players that Watkins was linked with various clubs. Rodgers was linked with various clubs. I don't know how seriously any of these things were likely to happen, but we knew we had to make sales, and we also knew we wasn't really going to be able to buy anyone. So I think there's just a lot of unrest going into the start of the season, and the transfer window obviously closed after the season started. So it wasn't after game week 1 that was it done, because there was still a couple more weeks where there was moving parts and things like that. So I think the squad was just unsettled, particularly with Martinez, who I think is one of our main leaders. So I think he was expecting to go. He'd cried at Villa Park that he thought he was leaving. I think some of the murmurings from sort of behind the scenes where he was going. I think even on transfer deadline day, he was expecting to get a phone call to go, and then they signed the other goalkeeper instead, Man United. So I think that's been dangerous. I think struggled a lot in terms of our midfield. So Tielemans has barely played for us this year, been injured. He was massively important to the way we played last year. Boubacar Kamara started the season injured. Amadou Onana, who's probably our next midfielder, has been injured as well. So we've had McGinn playing deeper, which I'm not saying he can't do, but he's not as useful for us in those deeper midfield roles. We've had big problems progressing the ball, hence why we're struggling to create chances, struggling to score goals. It's only been obviously recently we've started to score a few more goals. So yeah, I think it was just sort of chaos in the ranks almost. The players weren't settled. The team was in a bit of a mess. Say real struggles with progressing the ball. And from there, you had a demotivated squad, and you had struggles in the big part of the pitch. I think football is kind of changing a bit. I'm sure we'll get onto this at some point later around how teams are like opponents and how teams are building up, and Villa didn't adapt very quickly to that either. So it's taken us a month, maybe a bit longer than a month, to sort of find our new normal.
Yeah.
And there were signs in the last game we were getting there. I can talk about it in a bit more detail, what's improved and what's potentially changing. But
yeah, definitely.
That what happened at the start, I didn't really see it coming to that level. I had Watkins and Rodgers thinking they were quite safe picks at their price point, knowing that Watkins could become Gyökeres. Rodgers was a handy price point to move anywhere, really. He just knew he was going to get good minutes, right? So start with good minutes here and then adapt as the season goes on. But I didn't foresee it being as bad as what it was, to be fair, with those two. But
no, like you're saying, there's always it's hard to pick. You know, if we look at the season or the table from last season, we have to pick. You know what I mean? One of those teams that is going to fall down, and I think most didn't pick Villa. Do you know what I mean? They were set up really well. Like you're saying, they had a little bit of stability. Do you think? And that's why I put Emery up there. Listen, he's a fantastic manager. Everybody knows that. Okay, it didn't go as planned at Arsenal, but he is still a really, really good manager. Do you think he was trying too much? Like I've seen it a few times, Bogarts come into midfield. Is that right? Is he just trying to change too much? Is he trying to do everything at once? Is that half the battle as well?
I think deep down, a bit like Nuno when he was at Forest, I think you have to be realistic with what the strengths of your manager are. I think tactically, and I'll lumber the two managers together in this, but the tactics aren't the same. But I think they've both got limitations. And in modern football, I think tactics are becoming more important than ever. And they have a tactic that works with a certain playing style and a certain expectation from supporters. Those teams that are maybe mid-table teams that are trying to get into Europe, finish in the top 6, I think the tactics these managers have can work in that way. And Villa and Forest are both good examples of that in the last couple of years, that you can play sort of, I won't call it negative football, but you play, you spend more time without the ball. You try and play on counter-attack. You try and play on transition.
Got you.
And you can win games like that. But I think when you are now a top 6 team, stabilised as a top 6 team, top 4 team, things like that, there's an expectation then for you to be more dominant in games, to have more possession, to break down deep block defences and things like that. And these managers haven't really had to, I don't think, build a team like that. So Villa, I think, are in an awkward spot in terms of adapting towards playing transition football now, to getting players that are better with the ball. It's quite easy to get the ball deep, play quite a long ball, release a couple of fast players in behind and score goals that way. When you've actually now got opponents that maybe respect you a little bit more, if that's a good way to put it, that are going to put men behind the ball, are going to make you break them down. Different profiles of player excel in that sort of style of football, right? And Villa don't really have that right now. We've still got a squad, I think, built towards transition. But a lot of the players we play against, a lot of teams we play against, don't really allow us to play on transition. So now we need a new dynamic of player almost to now be in line with what Villa are. We've probably fast-tracked ourselves too much from being a bottom half team to get to where we've got to now.
Yeah, because it wasn't that long ago that was the case, when Jack Grealish was there and you were kind of fighting relegation, and now they're, like right up to the top. Maybe it was a bit too much too soon type sketch.
Yeah, and the fans, I think the club are quite well run in the terms of managing it. I think the club have reasonable expectations. We know what supporters are like. As soon as you start getting good things, you want more good things, right?
Exactly.
Managing that is hard. It's
like, be careful what you wish for. I mean, look at West Ham. They didn't win the football that Moisey played, and they've gone through 2-3 managers now, and they've not progressed. If anything, they've gone backwards. But a hi to a few in the chat. So Geddy's in there, Colm's in there as ever, Jackie's in there, Rushab's in there. How are you doing? Just while you're listening, like and sub, all that kind of good stuff helps us out. Geddy's put up there, Watkins and Rodgers was nearly the death of me for the first 6 weeks. Do you echo that?
Yeah, two decisions. I'm not saying I got them wrong, because they were picked for the right reasons, and I don't think anyone expected them to be quite that bad. It was how quickly you got off them. I played my wild card earlier than expected, partly because of those two. I had some Nottingham Forest players as well, were the other main team, I think, that underachieved expectation sort of early on. So having 4 or 5 players from those two teams, they still had good fixtures in the next block, but I thought, I can't tolerate any more of this. I don't really see signs at that point. I didn't see signs of improvement. Obviously, Forest then went and got a new manager. So Villa have now, I think, trying a slightly different system, which is why you mentioned Bogard playing in midfield lately. I think that's one of the reasons why, because he's now So I mentioned at the start we're having problems with ball progression. So we played Tyrone Mings in defence. He's more of a what you call, I guess, a pure defender. He's not someone that plays well with the ball. He's more a penalty box defender to head things out and organise and things like that. So we lost. We didn't have Pau Torres in the team, who's our main distributor from defence. We had no Tielemans. Kamara was injured. And we just had no way of getting the ball up to the attacking players reliably. The midfielders we were picking, that weren't their skill set to pass through the lines in that way to get us up the pitch. So Bogard, I think, coming in has freed up Kamara a little bit more. So Kamara was normally the deepest mid, and Tielemans or Onana was the ones playing further forward. Now we're trying Kamara, I think, a bit further forward. Bogard's now the protector. Kamara's playing further forward. And against Burnley, we did a lot more to get the ball forward quicker. Then Marlon was playing, who's another awkward player, because is he a striker? Is he a winger? Is he a number 10? He's a bit of an old-fashioned second striker. If you watch football in the 90s,
you're right.
Kind of a little one of those. The Ian Wright, I compare him quite often to Ian Wright. He reminds me a lot of Ian Wright as a striker.
It's not a bad comparison, is it?
No, he scores goals when he's in the team, but finding a position for him, I think, is really difficult in modern football, because he doesn't. A lot of teams play one up front. He's not a target man. He's not really an out-and-out wide player either to play in a 4-3-3 or something. He's not a number 10, doesn't touch the ball enough, doesn't want the ball enough. So finding a role for him is really awkward. So we're kind of now, or what we saw against Burnley was a slight change. And Villa kind of played a bit of an old school 4-4-2 a little bit. And McGinn and Rodgers played wide. So Rodgers' roles changed as well. Probably makes him, I would say, I don't know if it makes him a better or a worse asset, really, but he's going to be deeper.
Ooh, exclusive there. It's hard to find, City fans, United fans, even Newcastle. They're a dime a dozen. Do you know what I mean? But like the other teams, that are fighting to get up a spot, like yourself, Villa, it's good to get feedback and insight on that. Is Bogard? I feel like Bogard's like the teacher's pet. He just loves him. He just wants to shoehorn in that team however he can. I don't obviously rates him, but is he a bit of a teacher's pet? Is he? Maybe that's just my first.
I don't think he's a genuine. I've seen a few people getting excited for him as a 4 million defender playing in midfield. This isn't John Lundstrom from a couple of years ago. I don't think we're playing one of those games. It's working for us for now. I imagine when Tielemans comes back, which I don't think's that far away, maybe a month, something like that. I think we'll revert back to Kamara 6, Tielemans 8, and we'll be back to sort of older Villa again. And the same with Marlon. I couldn't get massively sort of excited about bringing him in. I think in terms of his ceiling, at his price point, he's probably got the highest. But we've seen the new guy, Guessand, play quite a lot of games on the right. Guessand is more, he hugs the touchline a little bit more, where Marlon's narrower. And I think opponent to opponent, game to game, we'll see those two alternate. So Marlon's no more now than what he was in game week 1. And obviously people got frustrated with him quite quickly there. That did a couple of price drops and things, aren't he?
And Cayman's asking there, hi to a few in the Stark, Cayman. If you've not checked out theirs, by the way, Thinking Cap, definitely go and check out the pod. It's fantastic. Cayman says, are Villa back on the menu, Craig?
I don't think so at the moment. Watkins isn't good enough right now to justify picking over other strikers. As bad as the strikers are in the game, I still think there's others better than him. I think defensively we've probably been a bit underlooked. But again, none of our defenders are as big on DEFCON as other teams have. So you're not going to... I don't think Villa are strong enough for clean sheets and things right now to think we'll cover the DEFCON they're not getting with extra clean sheets. I think you can make that argument for a team like Arsenal. But I don't think you can make that argument for a team like Villa that I don't think we'll keep enough. So we're probably not on the menu. If you've got Villa, I think, and you've held them up until now, why have you done it? But if you have done it, then if you have done it, I think there's opportunity that things will improve. But if you're looking for a 4.5 defender, I think you can probably find better than the Villa centre backs. If you're looking for a midfielder, I think you'll still probably find better than Rodgers right now. And if you're looking for a striker, there's better than Watkins. So no, I don't think you can own them still at the moment.
Not really. Disconference in the chat, it says, Villa are on the menu. Teams are having a proper feast facing them. Oh, you meant as in Villa bidding auction. So don't say that, Craig. Don't create.
Our defensive numbers haven't been too bad, actually. I've been actually quite surprised how well we've done defensively. No team has battered us from memory.
No, it's been tight, but we will come on at the fixtures because we might have a different opinion. The fixtures might be getting a little bit more difficult. FPL Stark, I'd put this on because it was funny. Veteran, change your name to N'Golo Kante. This international break work rate is elite. He's live again. He is, mate. He is. I'm getting some spare time. Even with the kids off, I'm getting some spare time. The unfortunate thing, Craig, is they can do it on the international stage. So Rodgers and Watkins and Malin, but they're not doing it for the club just now. So hopefully when they come back from the national break, they can recreate some of that form on the field and kickstart Villa for the season. Because it'd be good to have more players to choose from, another team to choose from. Do you know what I mean? A different dynamic. I think we're getting a little bit narrowed. But then saying that FPL it's a week-to-week reaction basis, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? 1 week to the other, it changes on a whim.
I think Tielemans will be the one. We've seen his type of midfielder. People like Enzo, people like Rice, those sort of box-to-box midfielders are doing quite well. I wonder, we haven't seen Tielemans only played like one game or one half of a game, I think, before he got injured. So we've got no real evidence on how things will go for him. But I'm intrigued to see if he can be one of these sort of all-action midfielders that can combine DEFCON with maybe some set pieces and maybe the odd goal. There's clearly some growth right now, isn't there, in what you traditionally call deeper midfielders, scoring goals and things. So he could be another one that ticks that box. He's not, I don't know how much he is now, 5.8, 5.9 maybe in that area
must have
somewhere.
Gone down, And he is, well, he can score goals. He's usually absolute screamers or maybe some penalties. So it's always good to see that. But yeah, I think it's good that they've opened that section of midfielders as well. You know what I mean? Brought them in. The only thing I would say, and we covered this last night with Andy, is I'm surprised that defenders have got to get 10 attributes, like CBIT, and midfielders have got to get more at 12. It should be the other way around, and I think that would bring them in a little bit more as well. Defenders have got more chance of getting CBIT, really, apart from maybe tackles. So maybe they could tweak that. I mean, there's always, people always hate new ideas, but I think it's quite a good thing they've introduced. You know what I mean? I kind of chucked it up to FPL Towers yesterday. I think they've done quite well with it.
Well, I like it. I think clearly it's season one of them trying it. They're not going to get it perfect straight away. I think if they've probably been a bit too generous. There's far too many DEFCON points being given out. So I think defenders probably should be higher and narrow that pool of defenders. We shouldn't be getting, I don't know how many it is, 15 defenders every game week getting DEFCON points. That feels too many. Midfielders, I think probably, I disagree. I think midfielders probably should be higher than defenders.
Really?
But again, they're probably too low as well. Maybe it should be 12 and 15 or something. Because I don't think you want to pick midfielders for DEFCON. I think you want to pick midfielders for goals and assists. You shouldn't have situations where, I think Jorginho Rutte was a good example the other week for Brighton. He got an assist. If you're owning Jorginho Rutte for 6 million, you should be quite. How often are you expecting an attacking return? 1 in every 3 games, something like that?
Yeah, you would think. Yeah, I'd say 1 in 3. Yeah.
So you got 5 points for that. Someone else is turning up and getting 5 points because their team kept a clean sheet and they made 11 clearances or something. You think that's not really a good balance. Rutter should be rewarded more than this defensive midfielder because he's done what he's supposed to do. He's got an attacking return. So something needs to change. Either clean sheets need to be worth more. Assists for midfielders maybe need to be worth more. Maybe the DEFCON number needs to go up. Yeah, I think the idea is right, but it tweaks are needed.
They've freshened FPL up. To be fair, listen, we're still going to play FPL regardless of what. But I think it was getting a little bit stale. They had to shake the game up, and kudos to them that they actually have done that. Easy sale, like you're saying, up on the screen. Recoveries count from midfielders as well, and defenders don't have it, so they've got an extra kind of route to points there. But like we were saying last night, Craig, there's been more clean sheets than before. So I think that's exacerbated, the CBIT and the defenders. I think there's 6 or 7 in the top 10 of points. We'll just come on to the players, like you're saying. They're not really on the menu just now, mate. I mean, the fact that Matty Cash is top of the proceedings tells you everything you need to know. Mings as well, who's injured, and then you've got Rodgers, a bit of Malin, Digne as well, who keeps popping up, and I keep thinking to myself, could I get him in? I was thinking near the start, but yeah, it's a bit of a mess. The only one I did like pre-season, and you could probably tell me because you're a Villa fan, but what about Buendia? Because he went away on loan, he done fairly well, and he's come back in the team, and he's getting a few goals and assists. Do you think he's there for a bit of longevity, or do you think he's just there for the time being? There's a few injuries within the team.
He's a European player for us, I think. Mainly, he'll get some minutes in the league, but I can't. Especially now, if we stick to this 4-4-2, there's not really a role in that system for him. I don't think you're looking at I think Rodgers and McGinn are fairly safe as the two sort of wider options for the minute in that system. So yeah, I don't think he's an option at all. The Cash will be more attacking, probably even more so now than what he has been up until this point. This new system probably benefits him a little bit more. But why you'd pay extra for him over Malik Diouf at West Ham or something, who's dropped to like 4-3, 4-4, and there's talks of West Ham playing wing backs and stuff now as well, which will free him up even more than what he has been up until now. So I just think you look at all the Villa players, you look at their price points, and you think there's at least one player at every single one that you'd probably rather have instead. I think Konsa's still fine. But again, Chris Richards is like 4.5 getting DEFCON for Palace. So are you going to pick Konsa over him?
Oh, mate, I had Konsa last season, mate. Never again. It always conceding one, mate. I was getting absolutely shredded with it. But yeah, like you're saying, they're not really on the menu just now. But hey, FPL, we're so reactionary. It changes week to week. It might be on next week. Talking of fixtures, mate. I don't want to alarm you. I don't think it looks that good for Villa. I mean, look at their fixtures in the opening few. Okay, Newcastle was a tough one the way they've been playing. And Palace, but then you've had Everton, Sunderland, Fulham, Burnley. Now we're coming into a run of Tottenham, City, Liverpool. That is like a bird's eye view. I think it might get worse before it gets better. What's your thoughts on that?
I think there's an argument that I've obviously said already about us playing counter-attack transitions where we're at our best. These next group of opponents will allow us more to play that way than the previous group did. I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm not saying they're good games, but especially for the attacking players we have, they thrive more in space. The likes of Everton, Sunderland obviously had a player sent off against us as well. We didn't get necessarily loads of space attacking-wise in those games. So if you've got a team that plays on transition, plays on counter-attack, Rodgers, ball-carrying midfielder, right? Watkins thrives the most in space. I don't necessarily look at those fixtures as bad. Especially for our attacking players. I think in some ways there's more scope for returns in this next group of games than what there was in the last set in a strange way. So I'm not recommending buying them. I'm not going to, but there's opportunity there.
Yeah, and like this is why I do on Fridays I do like a fixture decoder. So I'll delve into the fixtures for that game week. And quite often, like we'll say a green, and we'll go, yeah, I want defenders and attackers for that. Where in actual fact, that's not the point. But if we look at Tottenham, City, Liverpool in the forefront, okay, it's not ideal fixtures; they're difficult. But Tottenham, they started off defensively well. They've kind of backed off a little bit. City, you can get at. Do you know what I mean? And Liverpool, well, Jesus, they're conceding more than what people thought. Kanate's out now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But even after that run, say like you do all right, and at the end of the day, you just need Watkins for goals, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if they get beat, if he scores 2 goals, that's what you want. A difficult kind of Bournemouth in the middle, and then a Leeds, a Wolves, and a Brighton, which isn't too bad. So, yeah, like you're saying, it could help them, in game week 8 and forward. But yeah, for the time being, I can't really see it. I'd like to get John McGinn, and like I was saying, I need a Scottish player in this season. Is it going to be him? Unless United buy McSauce back, which I'm kind of hoping that you do.
I do think for people listening, though, it's worth having your 2 tickers. I know, like in the general FPL world, most people only have 1 ticker, and it's color coded as 1 ticker. But I'm with you. I think attack and defense is 2 tickers really. And what's a good defensive fixture is very different to what's a good attacking fixture. And I have that in my own sort of background. I try and color code myself. I don't rely on the tickers of other people. And I'm not saying mine's perfect by any stretch, but I think it's very different viewing it from your attackers versus your defenders.
That's I went quite deep into it, like not on the pod, but just looked it up, and colours mean different things and different perception. It makes you feel different, which is quite a mad thing. But yeah, we can't let the robots win. We spoke about this, Craig. The robots will not win over us. This is my season prediction, which I've updated for every single team. I had them 9th on current form. I think it will get worse before it gets better, and I've put them down to 13th. Now, I don't think they'll finish there. I think they will finish a little bit higher, but it depends how long they take to get back on track for that. What kind of position do you feel that Villa would get, and what would you be happy with after that high finish last year?
I think for our project, we need Europe again. Will we go down the Tottenham route of trying to win a European competition and sacrifice the league, even if that means finishing 15th, 16th? I don't think we'll be quite that bad, but I still optimistically think we'll finish top half. But we'll see. We'll have to make a decision at some point. What basket do we put our eggs in? Right? Is it full on Europe, or is it try and get into? I don't know what European football will need for the league this year? Is it top 8? Depends on, I don't know what the coefficients are like.
Yeah,
and
it
things
depends,
like that,
doesn't it? But I think it's better because of last year, isn't it? But I think it's top 8. I would think top 8.
I think it's still achievable. It's a slow start, but it's 4 or 5 weeks of a slow start, right? There's time to recover from this.
Exactly. That was probably in retrospect, that's probably a little bit harsh, especially because you're coming on the show. I should have brought it up a little bit.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
And Discomfort says in there, Kieran says actually there's no better manager around for win Europa League. He's right. The track record in Europa it's off the scale. It's phenomenal. So they're well placed for that, and you can see with Spurs last season it does make a huge difference. On to Bournemouth now. From kind of two Villa players to two Bournemouth players, kind of the exact opposite in kind of the start of the seasons. You got Semenyo and the C-bit monster Senesi there. Senesi was kind of quietly talked up pre-season, but with Bournemouth basically taking their back 4 or 5 away, we didn't know how they were going to react. But they've done better than what we thought, haven't they?
I had him earmarked before game week 1 as someone that might do well in DEFCON. But when they sold Zabani and Huijsen, I was convinced they'd go and buy 2 more centre-backs. So he's obviously there last year, Senesi, but he didn't really feel like he was getting many minutes. I didn't always feel like
he was injured, didn't he? He had a big injury at some point, yeah.
So I just thought they'd go and buy 2 new centre-backs. They went and bought Diakite, and I was still expecting them to go and buy another one. So that's the main reason I didn't pick him. When I looked at defenders like Agbadou, like Joachim Anderson, like Senesi, I thought I need to own one of these guys as a 4th defender, should we say. Anderson's more secure. But Senesi was on my radar as someone that might thrive under DEFCON. And now we know that they didn't buy that other defender. They've got some 18-year-old lad. Is he like Belarusian or something? I don't know what he's played a couple of games. But Senesi's locked in, I think, for the season now. So
yeah,
I think he's a must-have, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's 4.9, or has he gone up yet since then? I think
he might be 5 now.
5, but even 5, people were buying. I mean, look at the likes of Van Dijk, which I held on to for too long. He's 6. You know what I mean? And he's not really getting any clean sheets, and he's not had too many C-bets. So for a mil cheaper, you could get someone who's probably going to get C-bet a lot more than Van Dijk, and he does get some attacking returns as well now and again. To be fair,
I think the thing with Bournemouth, as much as they're seen as a mid-table team, we just spoke about sort of defender tickers versus attacking tickers. Their defensive sort of tactics, as I will call it, is one of the more elite ones in the league. So you look at Arsenal as being like the best defense because of how they mark and how they do defensive things. I think Bournemouth have the same ideas as Arsenal. So I don't expect Bournemouth's defensive numbers to slow down. So they might be a mid-table team, maybe player for player. They're not on Arsenal's level, but tactically they are.
Yeah.
And there's lots of teams. Like the way I look at football a lot when I watch it is to look at what's happening off the ball. I spend way more time watching off the ball stuff than on the ball stuff. Okay. And it's particularly defensively now, because football's changing quite a lot this season in how teams set up defensively, and the better teams defend in a certain way, and the not so good teams have issues with it. And I think Bournemouth are top end for defensive setup. So I think they'll be up near a lot higher than most people would expect in terms of total clean sheets this year. So if you look at someone who's getting loads of DEFCON playing for a defence that I would expect probably to keep between 10 and 15 clean sheets, top 6, top 8 team for clean sheets. I think Bournemouth are capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't hate. I'm sure there's people now that will consider double Palace defence right now because all their 3 centre-backs are getting DEFCON quite reliably. They're perceived to be quite a good defence, which they are. Yeah. I think there's validity to having double Palace defence. There should be validity to having double Bournemouth defence, I think, as well. I wouldn't hate someone going Petrovic in goal with Senesi or something. And just
that's what I had. That's what I've got, Craig. You know what I mean? That's good validation from me, mate. I'm happy with that. They were unlucky the other night at Fulham. I mean, listen, the first 75 minutes, Bournemouth didn't play well, and the fans made them know that. But it took a goal from Sessegnon, which was actually a poor goal for Bournemouth to concede, because Fulham had nothing up until that point. So I felt a little bit hard done by when they conceded the goal. But I think you're right. If we're going to go double Palace defence, why are we not looking at a double Bournemouth defence? Which
they've just got variety. They don't defend in one way, so they're quite adaptable in how they defend and how they. A lot of the teams struggle defensively when they have to move. It's getting a bit tactical now between blocks. But I think Bournemouth are very adaptable, whether they go man-to-man, whether they go zonal, whether it's the wingers that press in certain areas, whether it's centre midfielders, where the defenders go. I just think they're very well drilled and they're very flexible. And most teams aren't. It's one of the big discrepancies, I think, in football right now, defensive shape for teams. And they're one of the better ones. So there's no reason to think that their numbers are going to slow down or drop off. So I think Senesi's almost a must-have, personally.
Yeah, I think is, and he's only going to probably keep going up and up. So you might as well bite that bullet and get him in. I think I say the majority of people, but Twitter is that Twitter sphere that you don't know what the general population of got him. From one player to another, from a defender to an attacker, Semenyo. Again, until 75 minutes, there wasn't really much going on, and then Semenyo goes, right, give me the ball. It's time for me to score, and it was good. It goes past. I think it was 1, 2, maybe 3, cuts in the box, and then sees the keeper, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm just going to make it and score." And then from then, it was a bit of a floodgates kind of open. And people rate Fulham. Listen, Fulham set up well. I think they do, but I think they can be got at, and it showed there with the 3-1 for non-owners. And I said this to Andy and a few others on the podcast the other night. If you were a non-owner, I'd feel a bit hard done by because he'd done nothing until then. But he's turning the screw and being that kind of player that he doesn't need to do much, and in an instant, he's going to get a double-digit haul. A lot of people think, and Andy was saying last night, he's taken this step up. Would you concur with that he's kind of taken that step to above where he was last season anyway?
Yeah, the very first pod I did on my channel for this season was looking at him, Ismail Assar and Morgan Rogers. Basically looking at last year, there were 3 midfielders that a lot of FPL managers found trouble with because they benched them when they hauled and they played them when they blanked. And the point of the pod was that the 3 of them, all in their own way, you just had to leave them as set and forget. They had higher variance in terms of output in them. They were just a little bit unreliable. So were the 3 of them going to step up and progress? There was drills of Semenyo in the summer working on his shooting. Clearly, was always quite 2-footed, which I think is a good sign. And clearly, he's got that burst of pace and acceleration that is going to give him chances. So he always had high potential. He was just low variance right now, a bit like I suffered last year with Nicholas Jackson, another player that has high potential but was quite wasteful. So you're taking a risk, really, that he's got a ceiling that's in line with those that are priced 9-10 million. But is he going to get near that ceiling? And do you take the chance at his price that he will? Strangely, I didn't start with him. Obviously, they had Liverpool game week 1, but I did start with Evan Nilsson. But in game week 3, I'd seen enough already that I used my 2 free transfers to move Evan Nilsson to a different striker to change a midfielder to Semenyo. So I used 2 free transfers just to change my Bournemouth attacker, which is crazy, really, in hindsight. Bournemouth, what a mid-table team, and you're using 2 free transfers just to move Bournemouth attacker. Yeah. It feels like a bit stupid. A lot of people would think, why are you doing that?
Luxury, yeah.
But there was enough evidence that his finishing was improved. He's more of a talisman than what he used to be. Yeah, he's clearly not going to maintain this level of overperformance. He's not going to be averaging 7-8 points a game all season or whatever the current ratio is. But there's still no one better at his price point than him. He's like this year's Mbeumo, right? We all had Mbeumo for most of last year.
Yeah, and like
there's similarities to what he's offering now to what Mbeumo was last year.
So, yeah, and like you said, sorry, I think, it's like you were saying about the points there. If he continues in this current trend, he'd be the top point scorer of all time. So he cannot continue it. And a few people give me a few pelters for thinking about taking him out, or a game week 8 wildcard that I put up last week. But we're very slow, not very slow, but sometimes we don't look forward too much. We want those players after they bang big, and then we get them in, or the same. We hold on for them for too long. But we were talking before, and when he's essentially just over half the amount of Salah, I mean, look at the output he's doing for that return.
Yeah, and he's one of the few attacking midfielders who can get DEFCON. I'm not saying he's a DEFCON beast in that way. He'll probably only get it occasionally. But people are picking Ilman Ndiaye because he gets DEFCON. Now, he might get it a little bit more than Semenyo does, but Semenyo's output capabilities, I would argue, is much higher, even without the pens. Or maybe, I think he took a pen, didn't he, in one of the game weeks, so maybe he is on pens. Semenyo.
did, yeah. But then Clivert's back, so I mean, yeah, it's difficult.
If he's a true talisman, though, Villa have got it. We spoke about Villa already, but Villa are similar with Rodgers. If you're building your club around this player, what things you have to give them to keep them sweet in that way? You might give them a captaincy, you might give them penalties, you might give them more of a free role, all these sorts of things to try and motivate them to stay.
Sweet.
Yeah, maybe even though Kluivert's back, Semenyo will keep the pens because clearly he's their most important attacker, right? So
yeah, it might help them both because Kluivert came on and he had a point to prove, and he did. He scored a screamer. So they might kind of feed off each other and try and one up all the time, which is really, obviously really good for Bournemouth. Have a look at the fixtures wise. Apart from the opening one against Liverpool, which they still scored 2 goals, still played really really well. They had a fairly decent run with Wolves, Leeds, and Fulham in there. Upcoming slightly more difficult. The next 3, and this is why I'm thinking taking them out. For the short term is City and Palace, which I like my players to have a big ceiling. I know he is a talisman; he could still get a big ceiling. Palace and City. Okay, you can get City and score. I just think that he's not gonna. There'll be players that have a higher ceiling in these game weeks, but then after that, they've got your club mate Villa, which we'll have to see what you guys are like it there, and then they've got a great run of West Ham, Sunderland, and Everton. Do you own him, Greg?
Yeah, so I've had him since game week 3. So
nice.
All of those early points, but I only paid, I think, 0.1 extra compared to what he started. I think what's his price gone up now? Probably the best part of $1 million, is it, or something?
Yeah. I have to give a shout out to Roberto. Roberto.
Yeah.
Before his temporary. Yeah, he had in game week 1. So great shout. And he's always shouting out Semenyo. So well done on that, Roberto. But are you thinking about taking him out, or are you just going to hold him?
No. He's fixture proof for me, and there's not enough in anyone else right now. There's no bad performance data in him. There's no reason to try and be that. I'm always looking for an opportunity to be smart and clever in FPL and take on the masses.
Same,
I don't think it's him. I don't think it's him.
I might have to rethink my thing there. I mean, I've only got 1 transfer, so it's not to dip my team too much. But I think it's a bit of a luxury thing, and if someone's going to score a goal, it'll probably be him. In terms of the points, Semenyo as well at the front, got a good drop off of 20 points down to the nearest one, which is Senesi, which is he's the monster. Truffert, actually, a few people were like the look of him early on. He's done really well, and like you were saying, and it's done really well for me. Is that Bournemouth double up, that Petrovic and Senesi? Hopefully, it could have been more if the goal of Fuller had gone in. But again, we're looking, top 5 there, defenders and a keeper. And that's just the way the season's going so far, isn't it?
I'd say the thing for me is I think it's more sustainable. There's clearly been overperformance and good variance for defenders on the whole. Yeah. And you expect things to fall more in line with certain players. But I think this is more likely to remain than most other teams. I'd be more confident that Bournemouth can maintain close to this level for longer than maybe what some other teams are doing. So I still don't hate it. If I was looking for I wouldn't be concerned about having 2 Bournemouth defenders, whether it's Diakite with Senesi, those 2 will be first choice. Truffert is probably not quite attacking enough for a fullback. There's other attacking fullbacks in the league that maybe attack a bit more than him. I think he's fine. He's not that dissimilar to what Kirkes was from last year, right? And people drove his price up to like 5 million last year. So he could be fine, Truffert, but I'd probably rather have the goalkeeper or the other centre-back more than
and it's interesting. Like you say, we think again we live in that Twitter sphere that we're very very engaged managers. So Nessi's still only 25% owned. So we keep thinking, in our head, you think, he's probably about 50%. It's like 25%. Obviously, Semenyo's up there with almost 60%. But
for those that don't have him, I just don't view him as. I think he's getting labelled a bit harshly as just a DEFCON defender. I think he is more than that. He's not Tarkowski, Joachim Anderson. I don't think it's fair to compare him to those guys. Bournemouth are better than that.
Yeah, I have to put this in because Kieran's put it in. I'm contractually obligated. No, I'm not. Kieran said, so did your double pivot regular co-host Shane? He did, yeah, double Bournemouth defence. He copied me. And that's why. I had them finish 13th. They've got no Europe, right? Unless I'm going mental.
No, they haven't.
No, so I mean that's a huge advantage. We're about to come into a period where there is a lot of Europe, and with the international games, and the big clubs are going to get their squads really, really stretched. Those that have got a deep squad anyway. So it's really, really good for them. you know. And again, a fantastic manager as well behind them, which is quite rare in the Premier these days. I had them 13th, and I'm going to put them a little bit higher up in 8th. And I think that's about right. I think maybe they could just get into the European spot. It'd be difficult, it'd be very close, but if this is the year they're going to do it, you know, it'd be close.
He's always the answer I give, Iriola, because people sometimes ask you these like fancy questions. If you didn't have Unai Emery as your manager, which Premier League manager would you want to manage your team? And he's always the answer I give. I think he's very good and probably deserves a chance at someone maybe a little bit better than Bournemouth. Yeah, so they'll do well. They'll be top half, I think. Shane, you've gone on mute, mate, somehow.
Just as well you're here, Craig.
Yeah, I was observation, my number one skill. Yeah.
And everything will be all right, mate. My mic just went on and off there. Yeah, but from one B to another, from Bournemouth to Brighton, I didn't really know too much to put up on this wee smorgasbord, this wee talking point. I thought we could not put Tony Bloom up there. You know what he's done with the club, the money he's made for the club. He's done fantastic. I mean, they're pretty much the club for Chelsea. Every player seems to go to Chelsea. It's a bit unbelievable. I'd love to see the amount of money that Chelsea have given him over this week. It must be unbelievable. But yeah, I think, and I didn't know this, that he owns an analytical company, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe actually we need to let AI win a little bit, because this guy's unearthing players left, right, center, you know. Obviously got Baliba, who's a lot of people thought he was going to go to United. He didn't. He seems to be played a half the other day, then he got hooked. I don't know if he's a bit annoyed he didn't get to go to United, but nevertheless, they've got a fantastic rotation of players just coming out of everywhere. But when I do watch Brighton, I'm a bit like, yeah, like that picture bottom right. I'm a bit. I mean, that's not just me. Do you feel that? Do you think they're exciting? What's your thoughts on Brighton?
Firstly, I think they've got a manager that's capable of managing one of the big clubs. I think tactically he's very good. I think some other managers in the league are probably more at their level. I think he has a bit like we've seen from Company, right? Once you give him a good team, he can do good things. He couldn't do it with Burnley because the players weren't good enough. I think Hertzler is maybe slightly another version a bit like that. So I think he wants to play sort of top four tactics with a group of players that maybe aren't quite cut out for that.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is hard for them, because I think it leaves them quite open defensively, because if you've got good players, good defenders, you can play in certain ways. He's trying to do that with defenders that maybe aren't quite up to it. So I think they'll always be prone to conceding goals. I wouldn't want any of their defenders, because I think they're always, I wouldn't even call it over aggressive, but they take risks. They take chances. They leave people 1v1. And you know what? If you leave Semenyo 1v1 with anyone, he's got to run a good chance of beating them and getting a shot off, and that could go in, right? So they put themselves in situations that is a bit risky. So defensively, I wouldn't own one, because they're just a bit too, it's too aggressive really for what they're capable of. Yeah. Attacking wise, I think they've got a little bit more reliable now, and I think they're playing more in a way which gives their wingers or their wide forwards, whatever you want to call them, more chances. So they're overloading the middle. The strikers are coming a bit deep, and it's those wide players sort of that are almost the biggest goal threats for them. So. And the minutes are quite reliable for these wide players. Minter and Matoma are playing a lot of games when they're fit. So, again, another one at that price point, Minte, I couldn't outright tell you he's the best. But if you own him right now, I think you've got as much chance as anyone else that he could go on a Semenyo type run. I think he's maybe hasn't shown, where we've said Semenyo's improved his finishing, is a bit more composure and things like that. Yeah, Minter hasn't proven that yet. Minte might be this year's version of what Semenyo was last year. And with another year of practice and mental changes, different training, whatever it's going to be. But he has the capacity to provide big output. And he's getting good minutes, and he's arguably the team's biggest attacking threat. So he's the one that I would be inclined to go for. And I think he's fairly priced at 6 million. It's just whether you need that price point covered and whether you think there's 5 better attackers than him.
Yeah, quite a few have talked this week actually about going there. I think if you went last week, and yeah, he has done well. I fell into the Kuiper trap at the start as well because obviously I'd seen him play in Europe before, and I don't know if you fell into that trap as well. I was like, yes, this guy's going to be unbelievable. I mean, he did score the other week actually, to be fair to him, but he's been in and out of the team, and Brighton haven't had the best start. That's why I put up there. Kieran was like, why have you put Cheese up there? They're a bit of chalk and cheese when they're home and away. Home, they're beating City. Do you know what I mean? Away from home, they're drawn with like Wolves and that kind of thing. So. Yeah, like you're saying, it's Hurtzler is, he's really good tactically wise. If I can find it, yeah, I've put on there. Hurtzler is awesome from Kieran. Love that guy. He does love that guy, mate. I think more than normal, and he loves Weaver more than normal as well. The guy can't stop talking about him, Craig. But no, he is exciting manager. I just feel like he's not pushed on much. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of stagnated a little bit, but that's maybe due to the revolving players that they just keep finding from nowhere and then just selling. It'd be good to see like a full 11 if Brighton had kept their players, like Caicedo, stuff like that. They'd have an unbelievable team.
If one of the bigger clubs loses their manager, I think Iraola is very good. Thomas Frank's obviously very good, but I don't know if their tactics are quite what the big teams would need to win a league. I think Hurtzler may not look as good as them in principle right now, but I think for a big team with big players and tactics that can win stuff. Arsenal have obviously seen it with Arteta, right? They've been so persistent with him because they saw something in those tactics that could win the league if the right players were within it. I think Hurtzler is probably a bit like that as well. Is he ever going to quite get those sort of players into Brighton? Probably not really. But he'll win things with a big club, I think, at some point if they give him the chance to.
Yeah, and well, there's already been 2 managerial sackings, so there might be another one soon. Ange might be sacked. You might even get double sacked. You know what I mean? Go to another club, move on again. But yeah, Brighton, they've kind of had mixed fixtures. 1-7, it started with likes of Fulham, Everton, then they had, a difficult City, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Chelsea. They're coming into, again, another kind of mixed run. They've got Newcastle, United, Leeds, Palace, and then kind of to the tail end, Brentford, Forest, and Villa, which is a decent run. Any kind of 3 good fixtures and above, I put in green or bad if they're red. 2, I don't think is enough to have a look for a pattern. But yeah, hopefully they kind of push on, progress, maybe give us more options. Same like you said, Minta in the middle. And like on to the points, really. Minta's top. Van Heck, which is a little bit, he had an 11-pointer, didn't he? I'm pretty sure the other week.
Didn't he?
Yeah, so it's kind of skewed because he was way, way down before that, down into the Kuiper ranks. Jorginho, Rutter, Kieran did have him. I'm not sure if he does have him. I think he took him out. And like Mitoma, the 2 wingers up there, took 2 of the top 3, which is good. I like Ayari, the Swedish lad. He seems to pop up with a few goals now and again. He's only 4.9. Just now, no, but he's they're all looking up and comers, isn't they? Same like Gruda. They just pick these people out of nowhere, mate. Really, it's pretty amazing to see.
I think Brighton are one of those teams for the next block where their fixtures aren't bad. If we get to the point where we need more premiums and then we need more cheaper players around the premiums to fund them, I think Minter's fun. We'll get to my team at the end, but I've got Reinders right now. I'm not sure if I want to keep him or sell him. I think probably Minter's ceiling's higher than Reinders. So for 0.2, 0.3 extra, if you're chasing points and you're chasing upside, I'd argue Minter's better. No, as you say, Reinders is playing in a deeper position in a team with more games. Clearly a better team. But to try and move off the template a little bit more, is that the worst move? I'm not sure I'll do it. But if we're going to need sort of more cheaper players in our teams, if we get to the point where Isak's necessary, Saka's necessary to go with Haaland, then you need cheaper players to accommodate it. I think he's probably underpriced, Minter. I think comparing him to what Semenyo was last year is probably pretty good. So if you want to take that risk, it's a bit risky, but you need to take risks to win, right?
No, that's it. And there's quite a few players back for City now as well. So Reinder's he's not immune to a little bit of rotate. Listen, it's Pep Roulette. He could do what he wants. He could start Reinders as a centre back. He does what he wants, that guy. But maybe not that far. But he does do a bit of extreme stuff. In terms of position, I've kind of just gotten the same just now. Kind of 10th to 14th, 15th is always fairly close anyway. It's maybe 3, 4, 5 max points in it. So it's quite difficult to see where they are. For now, I'm pretty happy with roundabout 12th, maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah, don't disagree with that.
Right, on to Forest. Ange, right, come on, let's talk about him. Listen, when he was at Celtic, everyone thought he was amazing. And yeah, he done well for Celtic. He did do well. He kind of played one-dimensionally, and he had a squad that was far and above anybody else. So you could, again, it was a bit like City. You could play however you wanted, and you're probably going to win every single game. It didn't work out like that in the Premier League when he went to Spurs. And again, he was still attacking it 3-0 up, and it didn't go the best. And it's not really gone the best at Forest. Marinakis he's a bit of a different owner, does stuff the way he wants to. Clearly had an argument with Nuno. And I think that was due to the technical director coming in. Was that right? They had a bit of a drama about that. Do you know about that?
Was it Edu, the Arsenal guy?
Yeah. And he was apparently kind of encroaching on players. He was doing more, I want this player, I want that player. Whereas Nuno before he bought them. So he's moved Nuno out. He's brought Ange in, and the performance, that chart should be the other way because it's gone well the other way. It's just not gone well, mate. Do you think it's going to get any better for Forest? Because I don't. I really don't.
They've gone from one extreme to the other in terms of playing style. They've got a manager who's very defence first, counter-attack transition, to a manager who's very attack first with no defensive shape. So the player profiles Forest have that Nuno has spent some time bringing in the majority of cases, don't suit what Ange wants. So it's poor from the owners, really, not to have... If they didn't want Nuno for whatever reason, fair enough, but at least pick a manager that is in some way similar to Nuno in terms of the types of players he wants. Because this group of players was never going to work with the way Ange plays. So you've got two problems. Ange has to adapt, or he's going to need time to build a whole new squad, basically. Ange has clearly shown he's not going to adapt. He's going to play the way he played at Celtic, the way he played at Tottenham, even though the squad doesn't really fit that way of playing. And clearly it's gone badly because of it. I think attacking-wise, they're not bad. They have a decent attacking shape. I think they'll score goals. But these defenders can't defend the way he wants to with high lines and man-for-man pressing and all that sort of thing. With him as the manager, they're definitely the team to target. They're going to concede an absolute bucket load, I would think, because it's a hard way to play defensively anyway when you've been trained to play like that. How long have you been manager for? 3 weeks? These players can't adapt in 3 weeks to this structure, and they haven't got the skill sets anyway. So they've been asked to do things they can't do. They're not good enough to do these things, even if they could do them. They feel like if we thought West Ham at the start of the year were the team to target, that's now moved on to Forest. I think they're really the team that I'd be keenest to go after right now. Probably even more than Burnley. No,
I agree, and that's why I got Gordon last week. You know, he kept it quite tight. I don't know if he kind of pulled back on his attacking. I actually didn't see that game, but I think they are the team to attack as well because it's just a mess. If you've seen the video where he walked on the field, he was clapping the fans and no player went over. Did you see that? I need to add some background music to that because it was awkward. I love watching The Office. I don't really like The Office, mate, and it's that dry humor where you're just like, oh, and that's what that was. Like Morgan Gibbs White walking past him. It doesn't look good there for him. I said before he started at Forest, I think again he plays one-dimensionally. Amarin, not so much, but you see these players that do play one dimension or two formations max, and they don't have many in-game changes or formational changes anyway, and they get found out. You can't do that in the Prem. It's the best league in the world, and like that picture bottom right, I think there's going to be a lot more smashed plates before it gets better. And I don't think he's going to get the time. You know, Marinakis is quite a fiery owner. He does what he wants when he wants. I just don't think he'll be there that long. And it doesn't help when Ange is a bit off with the reporters as soon as he goes in there. Do you know what I mean? He's very defensive, and I get that, but it's not going to help you or your team, is it? And he's just a meme now, isn't he? You know, that's what would you say? That's who we are, mate. You know, I mean, that's more of a Sean Dyche, but you know, it's Do you think he makes the season?
No, I can't see it. There's ways to play. Forest fans probably wanted more attacking football than what Nuno gave them. If you look at when like Jurgen Klopp went into Liverpool, for example, he was clearly a very different manager to what he was replacing. but there was a warmth to him and an acceptance that it was a project, and he kind of did it in phases, and just gone in ball by the horns and tried to just put his stamp on the team straight away. This is how I'm going to play. You're going to follow my lead, sort of thing. And he didn't really bring everyone on board with him to start with, right? So he made enemies probably right from the off. And then, it's I can't see it working. He's just convinced, right? His way's best, and maybe in the right league, with the right team, in the right league, with the right set of players, it could work. But not in this league with that set of players. It's not going to work.
This team, I don't think there's many teams you could go to. Kieran's put in there, but like Marinakis said, one thing Ange is that most managers aren't is Greek. Yeah, fair one. So he might be there longer. He might be there longer than normal. John Paul says, crazy stuff at Forest. If they bring in Dyche, they're heading for League One again. I've seen that he's been maybe speaking to Dyche and some other manager, so it doesn't bode well.
Dyche is more like Nuno, though. I'm not saying the same, but Dyche's style better suits the players they've got than what Ange's.
I think
keep them up.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think he'd probably bring some long throws in, like Brentford and the other teams are. Dyche will be back. If we look at the fixtures wise, they had Burnley and Sunderland back to back, which was good for them. And when did Ange take over? Was it West Ham?
He was in charge for Arsenal, wasn't he?
Was it Arsenal? It was about that. Yeah, maybe it was after. Yeah. No, in fact, you're right. So, okay, Arsenal's difficult. He's not going to do much, but Burnley, Sunderland, Newcastle, it's difficult. You think something would happen. They've not won a game, have they? I think they've had 7 games in total. Yeah. He's not won a game at all. They were 2-0 up in Europe. I'm pretty sure they got pegged back to 2-2. Standard Ange. Just keep attacking, mate. Yeah, 2-0 up away from home in Europe. Just keep attacking, mate. It's probably the best option. Listen, the fixtures now. Chelsea, Bournemouth, United, Leeds. So, a little bit mixed. The first 2 are more difficult than the second 2. Then Liverpool, Brighton, and Wolves. But at the moment, mate, there's not really, and I thought this the other day, even though there's a red fixture and a green fixture, I don't see an easy fixture for Forest just now. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's a bit of an uphill battle, especially with Ange. And one thing I didn't think we said at the start as well, I should have maybe put on the board, was injuries. He's been in there, 4 weeks, and there's injuries galore already. Probably something to do with Ange, where you just want people running constantly until they can't run anymore. It doesn't help. And he's had that track record through every club, by the way, through Celtic, through Tottenham. It doesn't look good for Forest. In terms of points, listen, you were saying, and Andy was the same. I think he had 2 Forest. I had a Forest. Some people had double defence. I thought they'd have a bit of a drop-off. I looked at the preseason. It wasn't as good as before. It still had Nuno, but I think, the preseason didn't really look that good. But it was up tops Ndiaye and Chris Wood, which tells you something. Chris Wood's he's not really been at the races. I think he overperformed last season, didn't he? And people thought, I'll get him back. And then I like a Gibbs White. I love watching Gibbs White. On the ball, he's just a fantastic player to watch, exciting player to watch. I think maybe the likes of, in fact, I had Williams, Milenkovic. If Dyche comes back, maybe big Milenkovic might get back in there. But for the time being, is there any player that you could see that you really want in? Probably not just now.
Not wanting. I think Elliot Anderson's still fine. I think in the Ange system, he's a little bit more advanced. So maybe a bit more potential for output. He's not just, I think at the start when I picked him purely as more of a DEFCON mid. And frustratingly, he kept being one short, a bit like Bruno. He kept being one short all the game. But I think he's reliably got DEFCON since Ange's come in, because he's more box to box. He's more involved. And I think he's got more output capabilities now. So I don't hate him at that price. Whether, again, you'd want him, I think I'd probably still try and find the extra for Minte personally. But if you need someone under 5.5, there's obviously some options at 5 million, the Xhakas and players like that, which could do well as well. But I think Anderson, if you still have him, where there's been desperation to get away from Wood and get away from the defenders and the goalkeeper, I think Anderson is probably the only one that you could at least find the reason to justify having still. But
apart from that,
probably not the best.
No, so some people are talking about relegation again. It depends how long Ange stays. I think the longer he stays, the more damage he does there. 8th, I think everyone thought they might have got maybe Europe, might have kicked on and pushed up for that. For me, they've doubled. They're going to be near-ish relegation. again, listen, we're only a part bit into the season, so we're not really sure how long Ange will stay and what will happen next in the next evolution. But you kind of concur with that they're definitely second half of the table anyway.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Bottom 15th, they're going to be bottom 5, I would think. The
Do
way
you think
things
they go
down. Based on what I'm seeing right now, I think there's a valid argument that then Wolves and Burnley are the 3 worst teams. But Sunderland have obviously got to get through AFCON when basically 3/4 of the squad are going to clear off. So I don't know what they'll be like. And things like that. So there's plenty of time to change. But based on current form, then Wolves and Burnley are probably the 3 worst teams. So I don't think it's impossible they go down, but they probably get away with it.
Yeah, Well, I don't know. It's Ange, so I don't know. He got lucky last year anyway. Right, on to Palace. So one team that isn't doing that well to a team that are doing fantastically. Unfortunately, just ended the run there. He got beat by Everton, which no one's seen coming because they were 1-0 up away from home at Everton. Crystal Palace, keeping on the kind of Europe theme, they are still in Europe. There's not the competition they wanted, or maybe perhaps should have got, but they're still in there. Do you think that's going to, that comes with a new challenge, it's going to stretch their squad a little bit? And do you think, even though they've had a really, really good start, now that Europe's getting a little bit more busy, there's that risk that they could kind of plateau a little bit and maybe regress slightly? They don't have the biggest squad to work from, do they?
No, and Villa are justification from this from a couple of years ago when we was in Conference League, and so I think it will be hard for them, because I do think there's a drop-off to the replacements. Not doing too bad in midfield. People like Kamada are obviously quite versatile, so they're quite helpful. But the squad is light. They don't have a lot of defenders, particularly that Lacroix is quite a specialist in what he does. I think he's quite hard to replace. Munoz gives them so much. They've got other players that can play right wing back. They're not going to give the same output capability as what he can. So I think they're 1 or 2 injuries away from big problems.
Yeah,
because the replacements for a lot of their players aren't anywhere close to the level of the starter. Nketiah is not a bad striker, but he doesn't give them what Mateta does. They don't have a replacement for Munoz. Wharton's quite unique in what he gives them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Gahey's an England starter now. So how long will they survive without injuries, I guess, is the big question with them. I think they'll struggle to maintain quite what they're doing. They're just very hard to beat, though. And if you're organised and set up well, I'm sure the squad players can fit in with that. I think it's just hard, really, to get. I can't work out personally where I stand with their attackers. I've got enough money to do Reinders to Sarr this week. I'm sure every man and his dog would tell me to do that. I'm sure all of the review sites and stuff would say get Sarr in, but
probably, yeah.
But I've got something in the back of my mind is a little bit of reservation around doing it. Mateta's got like the second best underlying data in the league for strikers behind Haaland, but again, I'm reluctant to go there. In a world where all the other strikers are underperforming, just get Mateta in. His data suggests he's the second best one, but I've not done it. So I'm hesitant. So I don't know what it is with them. What we've seen right now in this first block, there's probably no reason not to have at least 2 Palace players. I think there's a justification to have 3. The fixtures coming up aren't bad, but he's going to catch up with them eventually, I think, Europe and the squad.
Yeah, and they're using a lot of the time. I've been noticing. I thought Munoz might be coming off early. A lot of games he's not. He's smashing it for 90 minutes, and like you're saying, I think eventually it will catch up to them. The good thing that he's done though, Glasner, is that's what the bottom right, the teamwork picture is. It is about the team. I've spoken to a few Palace players, and one person in particular is Eze. Even though he was a fantastic player, he wasn't fully maybe into the team buy-in, the team ethos. In terms of that's what Glasner wanted. So he has got a better setup, like you're saying, and the people that are coming on as the second string are doing well. But for now, is there a danger? And this is why Glasner's picture's up there. With the run they went on, I think there's a real danger that the manager maybe gets pulled to a big club. Do you think that's a possibility within the season, either in the Premier League or without the Premier League?
Not in England, I don't think, because I think tactically he's again another one who's a bit passive, a bit like what I was saying about Emre and Nuno. I think he's another one. Maybe he's got a very good record, hasn't he, against the big clubs? Palace have, because they can play in a certain way in those games. If they're now going to be starting, and maybe you said they just lost to Everton. Maybe there'll be another team that struggles when they're playing against an inferior team or someone more on their level even. But can they win those games? Can they break those teams down? Because again, they're another team that sort of thrive on counter-attack transition in that way.
Yeah.
So it took Thomas Frank had good results for how many years at Brentford before he got given another job, because I think there was a viewpoint that he was limited tactically, and I think Glasner probably is a little bit the same.
Okay.
So maybe another league, maybe a Germany or an Italy or something, he might be recruited for someone like that. But I don't think any of the big clubs in England would necessarily take
go for him. I was thinking more Germany way. Not that there's any managers that look on the edge or anything. I mean, what's his name? Ten Hag's already gone. It took him 3 games, so that job's filled for now. But if he was still there, maybe he needed filled. But
be interesting if he could have gone to a West Ham or something, because at least West Ham have got they're a bigger club than Palace in their own way, aren't they? Bigger stadium, probably better finance. That might be his level in the Prem, because he can still be that sort of underdog team and get them back into what David Moyes gave them. I think that's kind of his level. I don't see him managing like a top 4 team though.
No, not just now. They had a fairly good run at the start. They had Forest, Villa, Sunderland, West Ham, and then a little bit tougher Liverpool and Everton. When they get back from international break, they've got Bournemouth straight away and Arsenal, two fairly tough fixtures. But then after that, they've got a really, really good run. Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, United, and Burnley. Like we're saying, especially those first 3-4 game weeks, it's quite packed with European action. But at least they've got the easier fixtures to maybe help that. But that might pull us into a false sense of security. You might want to triple up on them, like you say, and then not get the output that we need. So I kind of agree with you. Maybe want to pull back a little bit on that. Attacking wise, I think, like you saying, people have got 2 defenders and maybe 1 attacker. Do you think you're going to have either Mateta or Sarr? Maybe game week 10 to 14?
Yeah, I think it's realistic. I think it will be Sarr as well, because I can see myself probably ending up in 4-4-2 at some point. And you imagine Voltemada is probably the likely one to go in with Haaland, which then means I probably won't have Mateta. So Sarr can go. If I can get Sarr, Minte, and midfielders like that into my team, it could work. So I think Sarr is more likely.
Yeah,
but probably more likely to get injured as well if he's doing all this sprinting in behind and risking pulling his hamstring and all this sort of stuff. He feels like he's probably more at risk of that than other players. Mateta's probably the better one to own. And I'm surprised I don't know if he got his ownership. It's probably not as high as it should be, Mateta's ownership.
Look at that. Do you know what I mean? It's like being on the pod before. You know what I mean? That's what we do here, mate. He is 9.9. So that was pulled. In fact, that was pulled today. So that's up to date stats. Look at that. That's what we do on this pod, mate. Up to date stats. So yeah, 9.9. It's still quite low. I fully like you. I've looked at him quite a bit as well. He's got good numbers, underlying data. I can't fully trust him. Do you know what I mean? He seems like he's like a purple patch player. When he's in the groove, he's in the groove. When he's not, it takes him a while to get with it. I just, that second spot next to Haaland. So, it's a pivotal one.
But, I think my sort of issue with them is I don't see them as a sort of team that are regularly going to score more than 2 goals. And I think in a lot of games, I think they'll probably only score 1. So we saw last year with Chris Wood, right? Forest only scored 1 quite a lot, but he got it and got max bonus points for it and got 9 points quite a lot. That could be Mateta. But you kind of want your attackers to play for teams that might score 3 or more reasonably often. And I don't think Palace are going to do that.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. They say it was maybe a 1-0. He might get a 9-pointer, with a goal. But yeah, I want that ceiling. I want that massive. That's what we're all chasing. Massive points to push you up the rankings. Hi, Paul. Good to see you, mate. Kieran said, "How is Fizzy Water or LaCroix so lowly owned?"
I've got him
4.1. Yeah, I've got him as well. Kieran's got. I think a lot of we're in that Twitter sphere, and if you look outside that bubble, 4%. You're like, what's going on? Even Sarr, I know he's come back from injury, but 6%. Mark Guehi, I would probably thought he was maybe lower owned than 30%, especially when you got Richards and LaCroix next to him as well. I've had Munoz for a while as well. I think you need, like I was saying last night to Mode, okay, CBIT is important, but you still need a balance. You can't just have full CBIT, because for me, I think you're just submitting to the AI for the year, and there's not any excitement in that back. I like seeing Munoz. Quite often I'll see him and I'm like, what is he doing up there? He's literally playing as the second striker. It's outrageous.
I think this will be my decision. So I'll either play 4-4-2 or I'll play 5-3-2. And it'll be this spot in my team. So Munoz is around the same price as Minte, right? Who do I think is going to get more points between those two? And where would I rather have that attacking spot in my team? Do I want Minte playing as like the highest player forward in Brighton's attacks? Or do I want Munoz, who's arguably still the most attacking defender in the league with more routes to points because of clean sheets and DEFCON and things?
Yeah.
I think that will be, I'll just view that position in my squad as an attacking player. But do I want it as a defender or do I want it as a mid? And I haven't made my decision really yet on that spot. But I think my defense will still very much be DEFCON first.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think we still have to have that maybe two. I like having two maybe attackers that can choose in and out, because I think the majority of us now we're going to play four at the back until maybe a striker starts scoring goals other than Haaland. Again, it always changes, in FPL that really quick. But yeah, we'll have to see. There's quite a lot more in the chat. We just had a little raid from Alf. You know Alf, Craig?
I don't know Alf.
Oh my goodness! Right.
Did he used to be on Home and Away? I know that Alf. He used to be on Home and Away a long time.
You need to go and have a look at his channel, mate. I'm pretty sure everyone else that's watching me back or us back or tomorrow watching the replay, go and check out Alf. He's just exploded. Actually, he's doing really well to the channel. Congrats, Alf. I think he's had like 3,000 in the last 3 weeks or something. He's doing really well. He's a good egg. And just as chuck it out here, I feel sorry for him because tomorrow we're going to stream a game of FIFA, and it could be the end of Alf. But we'll have to see. But it's good to see you all from Alf and his channel. We've covered Palace there again. Covered all the pertinent players that we've got there. Positional wise, I still put them up. I had them 10th. I think they've had a better start to the season than before. Yes, they do have Europe, but I think they will still manage it fairly well, and I think they'll be up a bit. Maybe in retrospect, that's maybe a little bit high with Europe this season, but yeah, time will tell. What position do you see them finishing, mate?
Yeah, not 7th. I think 10th is fair. I actually think they might go a bit lower than that. I think if they go well in Europe, I think he'll take his toll on the league. They may end up 11th or 12th or something. I think they're more likely to go down than up. I think it will become too much for them over the season.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's Palace done. We've got 2 left. Chelsea, 1 C to another C. Right, let's talk about the squad first. That's what the bottom left picture is. That is the official team 25-26 season picture. I probably wouldn't be far off that, to be honest, mate. Yeah, I mean, listen, they can effectively play 2 squads, keeping on the theme of Europe. That's massively going to help them. Maybe not for consistency, but when you've got 2 squads, they can get used to each other. Bottom right is Palmer, obviously his injury. Did you have Palmer at the start? Did you go there or did you hold off?
I had him on my wild card. I put him on my wild card. I played him once, captained him, and he went off after about 15 minutes as my captain, and then I had to sell him the week after. So not one of my finest moments in FPL this season, but I haven't done very well out of Chelsea, to be honest. I didn't own Joe Pedro to start with. Since I bought him in, he's done nothing. I've had Cole Palmer on a wild card, had to sell him immediately. So they've not been good to me in FPL this year, Chelsea.
I think there was that worry. I'm pretty sure I had him at the start of the season because there was that worry about him, and he's not really, if you think about it, actually, he's not really done it. Even the second half of last season, it was his Club World Cup performances, wasn't it? Yep. That was worrying everybody, and I think he scored 2 goals in the game. He did really, really, really good, actually. He played really well in there. But after that, he kind of misguided us. Unfortunately, he's injured, and it takes the dynamic out of FPL because there's less players to choose from and less teams to go. But hopefully he'll be back soon. I think he's out for another month and a bit, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'll be avoiding him for a while now. It's clearly, whatever these lingering injury problems are, they're not completely cleared up. There's no guarantee that this break now will help them clear up. We need to see him play 5-6 games first just to see if he can get through that. I know he's got obviously higher ceilings. We've seen it in the past, but that's quite a long time ago now. If people are going to sort of focus on what he did sort of 18 months ago and make all their FPL decisions based on that time frame, that I think he's, I won't necessarily say a trap, and he's clearly a high ceiling player, but yeah, for me, I've kind of learnt my lesson now. I'm not going there again until there's some genuine evidence. Not that we want to wait. We want to. The key to this game really is to get people in before they start getting points, not wait for them to start getting them.
Exactly.
Which is what I've done with Joel Pedro, right? He's got points, then I've bought him in, and then I've missed them all. I don't really want to do anything with Pedro.
You've missed them all, yeah. Yeah, I think, and that's what I've got before we go into fixtures and players. Top right, Caicedo and Enzo. They've been, I've seen the world number one had Caicedo. I think he had both actually. I think Caicedo and Enzo. And it's good that they brought that defensive midfielder, into the conversation at least. He's done really, really well, isn't he? Enzo, he's playing a little bit more further forward. Do you think that's going to continue? Do you think he's on pens even if Pedro's on there? Because he wasn't really meant to take the last one, was he?
I think Enzo's got a chance. I think he will be playing still more as an 8/10. So those box-to-box midfielders, he's probably going to play higher than most of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see him being a steady pick. Again, whether now at, what is he, about 7 million, would I still rather, do I see his output being better than others at that price point? It might be. I'm not saying people are wrong for owning him. I'm just not sure where I stand with him. I don't have a strong opinion either way on Enzo. I can see the reasons to get him. I've not quite seen enough, I don't think, to make me think I desperately want him and I'm going to sort of do all I can. I'd still think I'd rather have Sarr than him right now if I had to bring one of them in. I think Sarr's ceiling's probably a little bit higher, but he's a steady pickup.
Yeah, so Alf just dropped in there. We're playing Wednesday, Shane. You want me to draw you a diagram? Listen, I'll play any day, Alf. It's on. It's on. I'm going to have to clip that as well. Yeah, I think what Kieran puts in it, 5-4-1 is boring. It's like having sex with the condom in bed in misery position with your childhood girlfriend. AKA the Harry Kane. Is that what it's called? You couldn't tell that Kieran's an Arsenal fan, could you? By the way, Kieran's been playing a 5 at the back, so the robot
he shared with me his team. Yeah, he shared with me his team.
I mean, he's ahead of me, so what can I say? Great, do you know what I mean? For now. But yeah, we'll move on to the players. The fixtures. Chelsea, they had a good kind of 4 in the middle of 1 to 7, so 2 to 6 in game week. They've got a very fantastic run, and like you're saying, I think people are thinking about moving off Pedro because they've held him for so long, and he's not been good. For me, he's coming in this week, mate. I'm taking Richarlison out, Pedro in. When you've got Forest, who I want to attack, like you're saying, mate, really, really aggressively. Sunderland, okay, defensively fairly sound, but they're still a promoted team, Tottenham, Wolves, and Burnley. Why do you think people are moving off Pedro? And is it down to one thing? Review. Is that what? Because I don't look at it. Is that what it says to take him out?
He's not having any shots, is he? I think that's the main problem. If you want to score goals, you need to shoot. I think for me, I'm only going to give him 2 more games. I'm not going to sell him now. But I've already had this once earlier in the season with Watkins, who had good fixtures, but it just not shown me enough to make me want to keep him. And Joel Pedro is very rapidly becoming the current version of what Watkins was like 4 game weeks ago. So I can't sell him before this game with Forest. I'd probably keep him for Sunderland as well. But at some point, Voltemade is a similar price point to him. I think his fixture run is better for longer, Voltemade. And I think he's the striker long term that I probably want with Haaland. So I kind of know that move's coming. It's just when, and it's really going to come down to when I run out of patience with Pedro. I think for the next 2 games, I'll probably stick. There's a few other moves I'd rather make as a priority than that, but he's on borrowed time. I have, like on my pods, I do a traffic light system with my players to assess sort of where I rank them. If they're green, I want to keep them. If they're yellow, they're kind of on the fence, and red, I need to sell them. Pedro is very definitely in yellow at the moment for me. The fixtures are basically what's saving him for now.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty adamant I'm going to bring him in. It's just I'm quite aggressive manager. I want to attack those fixtures, especially with Ange. So I think he's still going to come in. FPL Jones is put on the any news on Enzo. Unless you've heard something different, Craig, I'm pretty sure he came back with fluid on the knee, but he has been training, and I think that's maybe part of Argentina pushed the game to the right, so he was going to come back late, I'm pretty sure. So this might be one from the club. He's got a bit of an injury, he has to come back. I think that's what they're doing so he can play the next game. I don't know if you've heard anything or have you got any thoughts on Enzo being injured or not?
They are playing first, aren't they, in game week 8? So we may get a leak.
Good point.
So you may have to, if you want to bring him in, probably worth waiting until near the deadline. He has come home early. Is that a precaution? Is it genuine? Same with Ollie Watkins. I think came home from England early, crashed into the post in the England game. So unknown, isn't it, right now at the moment with these players? It's hard because I say this is the fixture I think you want him for. So
yeah, definitely. At one point I was thinking about, I don't know what, I'll bring Enzo in as well. But I've held fire. And like you're saying, international break. If you haven't made the transfers or you're not too bothered about team value just now, you're okay. Just take your time and just wait for the team news. I watch one of my staples, Greg, is I watch the team news from Fantasy Football Scout. I don't really make a decision until I know who's playing, who's injured, because it's not. It could be a transfer wasted, and I've done it in the past where he'll be all right, and he's been out for like 5 months or something. So I always wait, or 9 times out of 10 I'll wait. Just looking at the players here. Again, it's fantastic that we don't have maybe the Pedro at the top. We've got Caicedo, Enzo, Pedro's there. Chalobah scored 2 goals this year. Cucurella, a few attacking returns, and then a bit of a drop-off with Neto and Esteval. Esteval I really like watching him. I think the majority of people do. If you can start nailing down that starting position, maybe even over this run, this could be the run, like you're saying, look at those players that we want to look forward and get before they bang. This could be his period in which to bang. Could you be tempted with an Esteval?
No, I don't trust these minutes enough right now. I'm not tempted to bring any more Chelsea in either. I don't have any defenders, but no big urge for me to get them either. I've seen a few people, if they were on wildcard now, get Cucurella in. I don't think I would. He's struggling right now. I think Chelsea are struggling with build-up down their left. They obviously had Colwell that did it last year, left-footed, was very prevalent in building up down the left. Chalobah has been playing left centre-back, can't do that. So I think Cucurella's role is slightly adapted to be a bit more defensive first to help with build-up rather than just be sort of overlapping and getting in the penalty box. Mm-hmm. And his role is very dependent on loads of factors, i.e. he's playing right-back between James and Gusto. If it's James, Cucurella maybe has a bit more licence to get forward. If it's Gusto that goes. So I think I don't really like owning defenders, particularly ones that I'm buying really for an attacking capability, if I don't know quite how attacking they're going to be. And I feel like Cucurella could have games where he's almost like a Nathan Ake type left back who's basically playing as a centre back. In other games, he could be like more of a wing back type player, but you're never going to know before kickoff. And why are you paying 6.1 million for someone like that? You can have an Arsenal centre back for that. I don't think
there's
better than them.
Yeah, you're right, mate. That's right. Vibe Empire, how you doing, mate? And FPL Jones says, before I had the injury news, I was planning on going rogue and captaining him. So I was wondering if there were any updates.
If we knew he was fit, I don't hate that.
No, I don't. I think there'll be a lot of space. The way Forest play, do you know what I mean? There'll be a lot of space, and especially if he kind of plays the 10. And I don't know. I was on a pod the other day, and a Chelsea fan thinks that Gueye is going to start up top with Pedro on the 10, but I can't see it. I can't see
really it. Against Forest, though, you want the players that are running in behind. Forest tend to play high lines and things like that. Enzo's not really a runner in that way. It probably is more likely to be an Estevio or a winger or something that maybe has more output capability. I'm not saying Enzo won't do well, but if someone's going to score a hat-trick in that game, it's probably going to be more someone that runs in behind, would be my gut feeling. But Chelsea could easily score 3 or 4 goals in that game, and so if you've got a piece of their attack, you could get lucky, right?
Exactly. That's what I wish for every week, mate. Just choose some players and hope to get lucky. That's about it, really. FPL Markham says, I've had Sanchez all season, wondering whether I should sell him or just wait till I wildcard about 13 to 15. I've never liked the Sanchez pick, mate. Even he done well at Brighton, fantasy football. And then when he went to Chelsea, people turned their nose a bit like, why are they buying him? I don't overly rate him as a keeper, mate. I really don't. I don't see. I thought they might have bought a new keeper in the off season there, but
they tried, didn't they? I think with Mannion from Milan and stuff.
I mean the 5 keepers they have weren't enough. They needed 7. Would you get rid of him? I think I'd get rid of him.
I don't rate Chelsea's defensive setup. I think they're another team that are likely to concede one most games. They're not as watertight as Arsenal and stuff in terms of shape. So I wouldn't hate selling him. But it's probably not a priority, is it? Unless you've got 3 or 4 free transfers this week and you want to get through some of them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like, I know Chalobah, he's scored 2 goals, so he's a little bit high in the rank as what he should be. But every time I see them, especially Chalobah, okay, attacking threat, he's good going forward to get that. But when he's breaking the back line and he's running into the through the next block, okay, yeah, you want to progress the ball, but I think he overcommits. And quite a few times in this game week, kind of 1-7, they overcommitted and they got caught on the counter. And I agree with you. I don't think the defense is as good. I think maybe the jumping ability leaves a lot to be desired as well. They can get a bit overpowered. And that's why I thought Liverpool would do well last week. You had a new centre-back pairing of Achampong and Badiashile, who Achampong's really young. Badiashile, I don't overly rate at all, mate. So I thought they might have had a choice from there. But give them a due, they've done really well. And I had them to be 4th, and I've still got them to be 4th. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
I don't think they'll be higher than that. I think 4th is fair. It's going to hinge really on, I think attacking wise, they're fine in terms of the way they play. It's just whether certain players stay fit.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think, I won't call them a liability, but I think you can get at them. Probably a bit like Man City in the same way you can probably get at them. So I think it's hard to gauge really quite how good they're going to be. But I think 4th's probably reasonable. If I was going to make a table now, I'd probably have them 4th.
Yeah. Just quick update: Iceland's beating France, so yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. It might not stay like that, but yeah, they're getting beat. We'll cover Fulham, but there's not much to Fulham, so it probably won't take too long to cover Fulham. We've got 3 pictures up there. The manager who maybe could have went to Saudi, but he turned him down. And I thought he might have went. There's a bit of rumblings about maybe him taking over at Forest because he didn't get quite the amount of money he wanted to spend this season. And that's why I've got the squad up there, mate. If we look at the squad, bottom left, okay, they had 2 strikers out. I understand that. But, when you're adding Jimenez to that squad cries out to me of definitely bottom half of the table. I know they set up really, really well. He's a good manager, but I don't really like the look of that squad. Do you know what I mean? What's your thoughts? Do you concur with that? Do you think, they're fairly solid? A bit dated for me, mate.
I think people have to be a bit more realistic with expectations. I think they're quite open defensively. I think they're a bit, what I said about Brighton, they take a few risks defensively. I think Fulham are a bit like that. So as much as I own Joachim Anderson, but I keep saying to myself and anyone that asks me questions about him, he might be getting DEFCON every week, but I still feel like he's going to get 3 points or 4 points every week. And I don't want to be playing that defender all the time. I think he's an ideal, if you're playing 3 at the back, an ideal 4th defender. If you're playing 4 at the back, an ideal 5th defender. But I don't think I don't view him in the same way I view a Senesi or a Tarkovsky, who I think can generally blend clean sheets with DEFCON. I don't think Fulham keep a load of clean sheets. And attacking wise, I think they get a lot of bodies forward, which is obviously a good thing towards output. But Iwobi, I think, is a very good footballer, but I'm not sure he's a very good FPL asset. There's a difference. I think he's quite critical to the way they play, and I think he's really nice to watch play football. But is he going to give you enough output? Probably not. The interesting one's the young lad King, right? He seems to have a little bit of a free roll. At his price point, he's clearly the best option. I think he's quite unique to what they have in their squad in terms of what he offers them. So I think that if you're looking for a cheap attacker, whether it's midfield or striker, he's still the logical one to have. And especially for someone that's already played their bench boost, if they've still got a wild card to play, I'd probably stick him in as the 8th attacker, I think. And I don't see a reason why I wouldn't own him.
Yeah, like you're saying, the Iwobi pick, like he's a Premier League legend. Yeah, you know what I mean? He's been in there for what seems like he's played for most clubs in the Premier League. I just look at that squad and I think a little bit of linchpin that everyone knows is Lukic in there. He came off injured. I don't know what the update is. I think if they lose one of those big guys there sitting just in front of the back 3, that's an issue because I don't think they have anyone they could really slot in there. And again, if injuries start coming a cropper, you could say this with any team, granted, but listen, I put bottom there relegation. It's a little bit tongue in cheek. They're not going to get relegated. Some may think they're not going to get relegated. I don't see much. They offered nothing at Bournemouth the other day. Absolutely nothing. I think they might be on the end of a bit of a hiding from Arsenal. They're invigorated at the top of the league. I think it could go bad. And if they lose their manager, this is the big thing. If they lose the manager, he goes to Forest. One, who they're going to play next, and do they have the squad to change the way they play? I'm not so sure, mate. I'm really not. And Comms in the chat.
The issue for me is that you watch them and you're just never really excited by anything. They're not bad at anything. Like some teams got clear faults with the way they press, the way they line up in a shape. I think in many ways Fulham are good. Most of the things they do are good, but there's nothing that really stands out as being better than that. So with a mid-table size of club, with a mid-table squad capability, I don't think being good is good enough now when you've got Bournemouth and Brighton. I think in many ways are better than good. So I think that's Fulham's problem. They're just always going to be 13th, 14th, and there's never going to be an exciting asset for them to own. I don't think. You might get the odd attacker that gives you something. Jimenez in the past. I think King is fine now for what he is.
Yeah,
but everyone, maybe Sessegnon will have a little moment or something like that. But they're just a bit. I don't want to call it bland because I think they're a bit better than that.
No, I think you're right. You can say what you want on this podcast.
I don't mind them. I don't mind him as a manager. I don't mind them. But I've said for years, like with Everton in FPL, I just never want to own their players. And Fulham are a bit the same. I don't know what it is really, but
there's no one that jumps out as a no. And like Com said in there, he said they need Tete and Robinson back fit. You do. I don't know. It's just something in there. There's always surprise in the season, and you'll see in a minute maybe what my surprise is. Jackie's put up there, like and sub, please. Yeah, it was over 350 watching, Craig. So yeah, get a few more likes in there. That'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, Fulham wise, it would delve into the fixtures. I mean, they got Arsenal and Newcastle. It's difficult. I think they're going to get a bit of a hiding. After that, they got a great run. Wolves, Everton, Sunderland. This will be a tough test in here of what they're going to be like the rest of the season. They're going to have to get some points out of that. I think it's going to be tough. Maybe not the Wolves, but definitely the Everton and the Sunderland. And that will show us where roughly they're going to sit in the season. Like you're saying, they're always kind of 11th, 12th, 13th. But, the gap between 13th and 17th is very, very close. It's just, 3, 4, 5 points sometimes. So I've just got
they're better tactically than those three teams. I know that doesn't mean you win.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I'd probably put them slight favourites for all three of those games. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. This Kieran's putting there 524 subscribers. Can we hit 550 by Extreme End? Hopefully we can, Craig. That's what I brought you on here, mate. To get the masses in here.
My channel's closing in on 500, so they can subscribe to me as well. And you can get to 550, and I'll get to 500 by the end of this stream.
Just do both. Do you know what I mean? Just do both. Players wise, players wise. I mean, Iwobi is actually at the top, like you said. You don't want to own him, and that kind of shows us. I mean, look at the points on the right hand side. There's not really anybody that I would want to own, really. That's the face I make when I look at him, like, So I don't really think we have to cover over it. Like you're saying, the young lad.
Where is he? Has he been chopped off?
Yeah, actually, he's not in there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. He's off there.
Maybe he's not got 15.
So no, he must not have, because that was pulled off. That was pulled off this afternoon. Yeah. So he's not. I like him. He's a really young, raw lad. But yeah, I like the cut of the man's jib, mate. But that's past Fulham. And hey, listen, Colm, I'm sorry. Colm's in the chat. I know. Colm, I'm sorry, mate. Please keep watching, mate. I thought that was a bit of my shock this season. I've got Sunderland to stay up, and I've got Fulham to go down. And do you know what? I still maintain it. I think that'll be one of my shocks. I think maybe the manager might go. They might get an injury too. And I don't think they're going to offer much. I probably could be wrong.
Before the season started, I put money on the treble of Burnley, Wolves and West Ham all going down. West Ham will probably be all right now because they've got a new manager. But at the time, I thought there was a risk.
Well, I think they will. Well, you never know. You never know. I mean, they've not exactly got the best squad, have they? Yeah, just one for you. Go and subscribe. If you're going to subscribe here, go and subscribe up to Vincenzo. At the end as well, we've got a wee link to you as well, mate. So subscribe to both because we're equally. Well, I wouldn't say as good. You're pretty good. Ask them. This slide keeps doing this. I make it all nice and neat, and then it moves as we get into here. Do you know what I mean? It's like gremlins in there. Just like Andy FPL mode last night. I've asked him a few questions. So, top FPL point scorer, you going to Haaland? Yeah, I mean, I've gone for that. Title winners, Arsenal.
Yeah, most complete team in the league. They've got the least the least weakness in the league, I think.
And they're playing like champs, and to me, they're already playing like champs. Kieran will be happy. I don't know if that's just to keep Kieran sweet, but that's what I sometimes do. I have to do that to be in a pod with him. Golden Boot, Haaland. Yeah, I mean, I think you can. The bookies probably aren't taking any odds for that anymore. Biggest regret so far? Talk to me about that, mate. Forest players, just a blanket Forest players.
Yeah, well, I didn't really particularly rate them last year. I thought they overperformed. I didn't think the way they played under Nuno was sustainable for long-term success. And they were just a team that not every opportunity I had, but I always, on the pod I used to speak down about them, and to the point where it got a bit unhealthy sometimes, how much anti-Forest I was. So most people would have said, like, going into this year, which team are you going to avoid? The obvious answer would be Forest. And I went in the season with Anderson and Milenkovic and added Chris Wood to it as well. And I'm thinking the three of them all did nothing. And I got what I asked for because I didn't rate them. You should trust your own instinct, your own gut, and your own sort of observations. And I didn't. I kind of got lulled in by other things. And so I thankfully played my wild card a bit earlier and got them all out before they dropped in price too much and carried on stinking up other people's teams. I got them out before then. But I shouldn't have started with them. I kind of knew that I didn't like them. And whether it was covering price points or getting too engrossed by the fixtures, because from the start, the fixtures were quite good for Forest, right? So I did it wrong. I prioritised fixtures and price points more than how I actually viewed the team. And I probably always myself for that.
Yeah, it's like life. We live it in forward, but only makes sense in backward. Do you know what I mean? It's that hindsight. We're all hindsight merchants. I was the same, actually. I only had Williams. People really high on Forest, and I was exactly the same as you, Craig. I was like, do you know what? I just looked at pre-season and was like, I don't like them. They overperformed last season, and nothing stays the same. Quite literally, a quote from David Brent at the office. So yeah, there's always going to be clubs that move up and down, and Forest, as we've seen, they're a club that are definitely moving down. Your top FPL surprise, we've chopped it off, mate. Tell everybody what that is.
I can't remember what I said now. Is it Semenyo?
Semenyo, yeah, like level.
Yeah, I didn't think his output would increase to this level. I thought he had ability. I thought he was a player that had the capabilities of a 20-goal season, but I probably wasn't expecting it now. And in some ways, I'm not surprised he's delivered this level of output because I knew he had the capability of doing it. But yeah, I didn't maybe expect him. He didn't strike me as one of those players that was going to be overperforming XG, should we say? Like Son at Tottenham, we kind of got used to him overperforming XG. I didn't see Semenyo ever becoming one of those players. And I don't know quite what he's overperforming his XG now, but he's probably got 3 or 4 returns more than the data suggests he should. So, yeah, I'm surprised at that part of it, really.
Andy put that last night as well. And do you know what? A lot of Bournemouth fans thought last year was his big step up, but it seems like this year is his big step up. That first goal we scored against Fulham the other day was fantastic. I just want to put a comment up there if I ever can. He says, was refreshing seeing this live was not about wildcard or players to transfer in. Thank you very much. And you won't see any AI on this channel, especially not from me or Craig. I tell you that. AI, get out. I've had enough.
I'll never tell people who to transfer in. Everyone's got to make their own choices. My job is to give in or try to give insight and opinion. People take that in whatever way they want, right?
And that's the thing, Craig. That's what we try and do. Our pod, like your pod as well. You've got to have the background to it as well. It's like anything. You've got to do your due diligence and checks before you make that leap of faith. And if we're just looking at players getting points on an FPL scale, there's no background to it. It's got no substance, and that's what me and especially yourself, with your tactical knowledge, tries to impart. Talking of which, here's your teammate. Do you want to take us through your team for Game Week 8?
Yeah. So at the moment, 3-4-3 begrudgingly, because I want to try and get into 4-4-2, but I've got Haaland, Gyökeres and Pedro up front, and I can't really find a reason to justify selling one with these fixtures. So I kind of deep down want to, but I can't bring myself to do it. So it's those 3 still up front for now. I kind of made my bed with what 3 Arsenal players I've got: Gyökeres, Saka and Raya. I think in an ideal world, I'd move Gyökeres down and get Gabriel in. But whether that's worth 2 transfers right now to get the right 3 Arsenal players is again, debatable. I think I'm probably going to stick. So Haaland, Gyökeres, Pedro up front. Midfield, I'm happy with relatively. Semenyo, Saka, Mbeumo, and Reinders. Mbeumo is kind of my punt in terms of eye test and in terms of eye test and stuff. I feel like he's the most advanced.
He's been unlucky, isn't he? Yeah,
No?
he's been unlucky.
He's got wiped out by a Sanchez win through on goal, led to a red card, but nothing else. Then he should have had the goal against Brentford when Colin dragged him back. And so it's been moments in games for Mbeumo. He could have had a lot more than what he's got. But I'm going to persevere with that for now. I say Reinders could go. I've got the exact money to get Sarr. I'm not against getting Minte. I think he's one of those players that you can always justify keeping because he's getting good minutes for a good team. But you'll look back after 10 weeks and think, oh, he only got like 25 points. What have I stuck with him for? I feel like I can do better than him. And again, being proactive and trying to use transfers in an aggressive way, I just feel like he could go. So that's my most likely move right now if I sell someone. Back three at the moment is Senesi, Lacroix, and Alderete. The other one I could sell is Romero. So that's a bit of a fouled punt. I thought I saw something with Tottenham that they was going to be sort of a big set piece dominant team.
Yeah.
And were quite watertight defensively. It's kind of not materialised that way in the last couple of weeks, to the point probably where I think I've given him a go and it hasn't worked. He probably needs to move on. But again, I don't quite know where to go. I'm tempted to get that second Palace defender in, whether that's Gahey or even Richards for cheaper. I'm not against playing double Palace defence. Based on what I was saying earlier, I should get bloody Diakate in or something and go double Bournemouth defence. But Romero, I think, is probably just tying up money at the moment, which I might need if I want to do other things in the next couple of weeks. So he's the other one I could sell. I could bench boost this. I still haven't paid my bench boost yet, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. As you said, I don't think Fulham are going to keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. So Anderson's looking at probably a 3-pointer. I think Villa will score against Tottenham. So Romero is probably getting a 3-pointer, 4-pointer as well. I don't really have high expectations for Dewsbury Hall. The only reason I'll be playing it is because I've got 4 substitutes right now that are probably going to be on the pitch. And is that enough of a reason to play a bench boost? Or do I see another opportunity down the line where maybe the ceiling's a bit higher?
Yeah.
So it's not bad. I'm relatively happy all in with the team.
Yeah, I think as well. So I think, especially after the international break, it's good. It's a good time to take a bit of stock and just kind of cool what we thought, because there's always a little bit of surprise, especially after the international break, of even players or teams performing. Some obviously naturally some teams have got a lot more players that are dragged away than others. So I like to try and maybe not make a transfer if I can. And I
think deep down I should roll, but knowing me, I'll get tempted because I know most other people are in sort of that phase right now of rolling. My mindset is there's an opportunity here to go on the attack and gain points to gain points. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Rolling is what I should do, but Reinders to Sarr will be tempting. We'll see, but on the whole, it's not bad.
I like it. I like the front three. Andy's got front three, actually. There's not many have got front three. Most are playing. I think I've been playing 4-5-1 for a few weeks.
I wish I didn't have it.
Too much. Yeah. I think. But then saying that, it might be a week after the international break. People are a little bit more tired. There's more goals flying in, and it's a very, very, very strong front line, especially with Gyökeres and Pedro. You're missing one guy up there, according to review. You're missing Calvert-Lewin, which we still spoke about before. Now, we had quite a chuckle.
I think in an ideal world, I would drop Gyökeres down to Thiago. If I was on wildcard now, I would be playing 4-4-2. I'd have Thiago up front, probably as a possible starter / sub, and I would have Gabriel in my defence. But again, it's a bit luxury to do that right now. But I think 4-4-2 is the way forward. I did a pod on that last week, talking about why I think 4-4-2 is good. But so when you're sat on this front three with the fixtures Arsenal and Chelsea have coming up, it's really hard to find a reason to sell them. As much as I want to be, there's certain things I want to do. Like you kind of know sometimes when you're sort of bordering on stupidity a little bit doing it. So I think I'm stuck with this for a few more weeks.
Sometimes the best thing is to do nothing, though, isn't it? Quite often we see that I should just left my player like that. it's a difficult one, but no, it's a good team. I think they do really, really well. You got Saka in there, which still isn't that highly owned just now, or not as much as I've been in recent years. So think it's good. You got Alderete against Wolves as well. Wolves are shocking just now, so could get another like 15 point haul.
I benched him for the 17 points last time, so we won't let that happen again.
At least you had him. Not that that's any. Do you know what I mean? That's any other thing. Right, we've just got a few questions before we finish off. The time's absolutely flown, Craig. It's been fantastic. We'll just rattle through these. Cucurella or Chalobah? Who would you go for?
Neither.
None. Next.
Yeah.
I think if I had to choose, actually, I don't even know. Yeah, neither.
Cucurella is definitely not worth $1 million more. Begrudgingly, Chalobah from the 2, but I wouldn't have either.
Because of the fixtures. Yeah, because of the fixtures. Paul says, and you were looking at Mateta. Is Mateta a hold with his really good XG but limited scoring so far?
I think he is, because you have to ask yourself, who do you want instead? There's no one else that you'd want instead right now who's really putting their hand up as the alternative. Maybe, I say Valdemar is probably the only one. But if that's the only sort of issue you've got in your team, I think you're in a good spot. So I'd keep Mateta if I had him at the minute. Yeah,
don't do the DCL. Is Bruno Fernandes a sell for Sarr or Enzo? We covered Man United last night. I think United are always one game away from implosion, and I think it could be big implosion. I think it could be a fight back from Liverpool, and I think it could be very, very difficult for them at the weekend. United.
I just think he's too expensive for someone given his level of output. I think if you want DEFCON, there's cheaper. If you want output, there's better. I know he kind of ticks both boxes to a point, but I don't think he's worth the money right now, if I'm being honest. I'd probably, again, he's another one of those that I don't think he's an urgent sell if you have him, but I wouldn't want him, I don't think either. So I'd probably move him on. Yeah.
FPL Mackham, I've had Sanchez all season, wonder when I should sell him or just wait to wildcard. We covered that one. Get rid of him.
If you've got enough transfers, get rid of him.
Yeah. Don't get these. George says, can I get Ryan Sessegnon as a defender? No, because he's not a defender. This is an Office quote. I don't know if you watch The Office, mate. Very, very good from George. I had to put that up. Fantastic, George. He's always in our little quotes, mate. I like it. Calm to finish off, which is quite big because he's always in here, mate. Same as Jackie, same as Geddy, same as Ged. They're always in here. Joachim Andersen might be on a high after scoring a goal for Denmark. I've seen that. The only issue with that, Calm, is he's up against the mighty Scottish soon, so he's going to be brought down to earth. You've got Anderson, haven't you?
Yeah, someone told me, actually, I don't know how true this is, that he's never scored for Fulham. So since they got him from Crystal Palace, I think there's a perception of him that he's quite an aerially dominant defender. He's probably likely to be a set-piece threat. I haven't double-checked the stat, but someone told me he's never scored a goal for Fulham. So,
I'm going to use that. I'm going to tell Gary on podcast that because they love Anderson, mate. Is there any chance you could take Anderson out this season? Great. Are you going to keep him all season?
I think. I don't say. I think at the moment he's valid as the defender. The first sub defender. But if I'm going to move to 4-4-2, I think I'd rather just have Alderete for cheaper as the fifth defender. So Anderson will probably be the one I upgrade. So I think he's reasonable.
Yeah,
he'll get a lot of DEFCON, but I just don't think Fulham will keep anywhere near the same number of clean sheets as other mid-table teams. So you may as well own similarly priced defenders from them who'll keep more clean sheets. The Palaces, the Bournemouths, etc. I think.
And just another one squeezed in, the very, very last one. My bench is Dubravka, Inde, Richards, Tarkowski bench boost. What do you think?
No.
Nah, I don't like it. Anything with Burnley, anyone in Burnley, I don't like. I wouldn't Sandry. I don't think Craig would, right?
Nah,
not for us, mate. Not for us. Just finish off.
In terms of my bench boost, so I've still got mine. After we get the AFCON transfers, we'll obviously get 5 free transfers, put it back into our account. And there's a reasonable few little groups of fixtures after that we get that. I think there's possibly a round as well where there's no fixtures in the midweek either side. So most teams should play their strongest team. I think it might be 17 from memory. Yeah. And there's a few sort of middling teams, the Bournemouths, the Brightons, the Brentfords, that have reasonable games in that week as well. So if we're going to get 5 free transfers and sort of teams with good value players with good fixtures, I'm feeling like at the moment that might be a better opportunity to bench boost than trying to sort of force it in now. But that's an option for people to consider for your teams if you still have it. But that's my sort of loose bench boost plan at the minute.
Yeah, I'm just going with the flow. I'm just, when it kind of arises and I get a wee free transfer too, I don't want to shoehorn it in. Kieran said, choose again, vibe. Love you, buddy. again, everyone who's watching tonight, thanks very much. Just remember to like and sub and all that good stuff. Hopefully get us to, I think, 550, Kieran was saying. Make sure you go on and do the same with your man Craig here on your channel, mate. Handsome guy up top right, mate. That guy is a handsome guy.
That's my relation.
Make sure you go on there and check his channel. It's really, really good. And like someone said earlier on, it's not your typical, here, bring this player in or transfer this player in. He goes really deep into, tactics-wise and the substance that you need rather than just, he scored 6 points, I'm going to bring him in there, mate. So listen, thanks very much tonight. The time's absolutely flown. It's an hour 50, mate. That's gone really, really fast. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Absolute blast having you on, mate. Definitely have to get you back on. Maybe next time with Kieran. Used to be more tactical mastermind.
4 hours. That's 4 hours.
Yeah, no. I'd just be sitting in the corner like, I've taken all this in. No, Craig, thanks very much for coming in tonight. Everyone who's come into the chat tonight, again, or if you're watching back, thanks very much. Drop us a comment, drop us a like, all that good stuff. In terms of content, I'm back on Wednesday from our wee review. Playing FIFA against Alf, so definitely tune in. Like, Craig needs to go and check out Alf on Wednesday, when I smash him at FIFA. And then back for FDR Decoder on Friday, and we'll delve into all the fixtures and see if that easy fixture really is an easy fixture. But for now, again, everyone have a good night. Craig, thank you very much. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.